Welcome to Clash of Beast Quest, Episode 7, Round 1, Murk the Swamp Man. Versus Spiros the Ghost Phoenix. Let's get into the fight. Spiros dived in. I can't speak today. Spiros dived towards Murk, but Murk's eyes stopped her dead in her tracks. Spiros tried to move, but pain exploded through her, like every tendon in her body was snapping. Murk made a chilling, gurgling laugh in pleasure at Spiros' anguish. Then, and still keeping his gaze on Spiros' eyes, Murk strided towards Spiros and wrapped one of his slimy hands around Spiros' neck, choking her, and as Spiros tried to free herself, she kept feeling the pain, but she wouldn't give up. She tried to scrape her talons at Murk's arm, but Murk punched one of her talons into the other one, still holding onto Spiros' neck. Spiros roared with pain as her talon grazed a deep gash into the other one. Murk was still laughing with pleasure, but Spiros didn't give up. She closed her eyes and shook her head from side to side, throwing Murk's arm off. She let out an ear-piercing battle cry of determination before finishing her dive and clamping her beak around Murk's eyes. Murk's hypnotizing vision wasn't working anymore, but Murk laughed, just kept on laughing, because he couldn't feel any pain, because he's made of the swamp. Spiros started scrabbling with her talons at Murk's shoulder, but her talons just went straight through Murk. Murk lashed out with one of his legs, catching Spiros in the gut and throwing her off. But Spiros, as she was thrown off, slammed her head into Murk's eyes, blinding him so his hypnotizing vision wouldn't work anymore. Murk started to realize that he couldn't see, and now he was losing the fight. Spiros' wings and feathers were starting to get waterlogged, making it harder for her to fly. She flapped upwards and bit Murk's head again, this time around Murk's temples. But then she fell into the swamp, dragging Murk with her. She decided, hey, let's just slam his face into the ground and slammed his face into the ground. His face splattered in the swamp and he sank into the water. But then he reformed behind Spiros and landed a hammer fist into the side of one of Spiros's eyes. Spiros's head was knocked sideways a bit, and now she was facing completely away from Murk. And Murk took his chances with that and landed and grabbed Spiros's face with Spiros's eyes and drove his elbow into the back of Spiros's head over and over again. And Spiros realised she was losing the fight again, but then she just turned into a ghost, and Murk's elbow went straight through Spiros's head and slammed into his hand, and his hand exploded with slime and gunk. Spiros turned back to her normal form, latched her talons around one of Murk's arm, and before Spiros turned into her normal form, all the mud fell from her wings and went straight through her, so now she could fly again. Spiros turned back to her normal form, leapt into the air, beating her wings against the sides of Murk's head to just confuse him, as she latched her talons onto Murk's arm and started dragging him out of the swamp, grunting with effort. Murk elbowed Spiros, but she just in the neck. But before his blow made contact, Spiros turned to a ghost. Her claws now went straight through Murk, but then in the middle of her claws going straight through Murk, she turned back to her normal form, and now her claws were stuck. Her talons were stuck inside of Murk's arm. Murk started hauling back, trying to bring her back into the swamp, and Spiros was very cunning about it. She let Murk do that, and right before she was about to be dunked headfirst into the swamp, she yanked back with all of her force, dragging Murk out of the swamp. Murk face planted in the stony grass out of the swamp, and his face just exploded with slime. He started to reform, but then Spiros grabbed one of her talons onto the slime, what just went inside, and hurled it away. But then when Murk's face reformed, he was missing in one of his eyes and this whole chunk of his head. Now Spiros started to cackle with laughter at seeing Murk suffering, but a good beast would never let them die in anguish. So Spiros grabbed Murk's face and lifted him, flew upwards and lifted him up, pointing him towards the sun and letting the sun slowly dry him out so he didn't have to feel the agony of all his swampy insides just pouring out the sides of his head. And eventually Murk dried up, and then Spiros swooped down and slammed Murk's face into the ground, and before his head exploded inside his neck, went down his throat and exploded him from the inside out. Spiros screeched with triumph at what is probably going to be one of the most gruesome victories in all of Clash of Beast Quest. So, Spiros has won. And Murk has lost. If you think Murk should have won, then tell me why in the comments, but I made Spiros win because she can turn into a ghost. She can turn into a ghost and her normal self. In actual Beast Quest, you would never be able to touch her, but I gave her that because otherwise the battle would make no sense at all. And Spiros is cunning and Murk is angry. So that just shows how that intelligence beats power. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.